Okay, let's go, come on. Hoorah! If you're looking to get a great wristwatch for very little money, you can't go wrong with Casio. They have a legendary reputation for making some of the cheapest and most durable digital watches on the planet, including classic pieces like this F91, which you've probably seen before. But did you know their exploits don't stop there? In fact, they've got a truly colossal number of watches in all sorts of shapes and sizes, many of which I never knew existed. So over the past few months, I've been going on a little bit of a scavenge. And in this video, I'll run you through my top 20 Casio watches, which I think you should consider checking out. All of these budget beasts are linked in the video description so you can take a look for yourself. Amazon did send in a few of these for review, so you can check in the description for more information on which ones. Casio is most famous for digital watches, so let's begin with those. My favourite daily watch, the A700, packs the great features of the other Casio models into a sleek and slim package. It not only houses a better backlight than most other digital offerings, but also comes on a better quality bracelet too. For those with thinner wrists, this is a great fitting and rather classy digital watch. I found it easier to wear this completely casually or, surprisingly, with more dressy outfits too, where the light grey colourway looks particularly at home. There's an alternative colourway as well, offering more of a traditional retro look, though the strap isn't quite as good. I'd say either of them are worth the slight price increase over other Casio digital models, as the level of finishing is clearly better. You can watch my full review of this watch in the iCard after this video. Next up, we have two feature-packed watches that could come in very useful if you require information about multiple time zones. First up is the venerable Casio AE1200, also known as the Casio Royale, a play on the James Bond movie title Casino Royale. The design of this model taking inspiration from the earlier Seiko G757 worn by Roger Moore in the movie Octopussy. While I doubt Bond would ever want to wear such an affordable watch, it does feel like a gadget on your wrist nonetheless. In addition to the typical backlight, stopwatch and timer functions, you also get up to 5 alarms and quick access to the time in 48 different cities, covering all time zones. This even stretches to cover daylight saving time, or DST, which takes into account clock changes during the year. At 45mm, it's a big watch meant for larger wrists, though has a rightful reputation for its durability. The A500 offers a very similar package with more up-to-date visuals and a smaller case size of 39mm, hence why it's made its way onto my skinny wrist. It does have less water resistance, though is much lighter and more comfortable than the AE1200. For those with average to slim wrists who want to jump on the world time bandwagon, this could prove to be a better alternative altogether. However, I doubt it's quite as durable over the long haul. G-Shock seems to be marketed as if it's almost like a separate entity from Casio, so I'm only including one in this roundup. Perhaps they deserve their own list at some point. The DW5600 replicates the classic square design from the late 1980s, which really got the whole G-Shock brand started. With shock-resistant construction, 200 meters of water resistance, and a plethora of timekeeping functions, it's the perfect option for those after the ultimate rugged companion. When it comes to pure durability, G-Shocks are about as tough as it gets. You'll find plenty of videos of people attempting to destroy these online. I think the DW5600 is still the best looking of these two, as it looks clean and simple. Some of the alternatives look a bit too busy, so this one's my pick for sure. But no Casio list would be complete without one of the most legendary watches of all time. This, the F91W. Worn by presidents and terrorists alike, this piece holds the record as the most popular digital watch ever. Its simple design and super low price point have sealed this model's place in the history books. Need a watch for work? The F91 can handle it. Need a watch for sports? The F91 can do that too. Need a watch for your explosive endeavors? Well, you get the picture. It's small, hardy, and easily replaceable if by some miracle it does break. Your dad probably already has one. Why don't you? Well, maybe it's because you've seen my video comparing the F91 alternatives a while back. My pick ended up being the W86, which is similar to the F91, but better in almost every perceivable way. It isn't quite so small, but features improved water resistance and a much better backlight system, which is readable in low light. It's still comfortable on wrist and features a slightly improved default strap for a slight price increase over the original. If you like the F91, but want something that does the job even better, this could be it. It doesn't yet have the same cult following, but maybe it will in a few years. Want to cheat on a maths test? Ben's Watch Club has you covered. Slip one of these under your shirt sleeve and you'll be getting full marks in no time. Of course, I'm talking about the legendary calculator databank watches. These give you the iconic Marty McFly 80s look, along with their 8-digit calculator occupying the lower half. You can either grab the original 80s style models, including the famous gold tone version, as well as some modernized alternatives. As far as I can tell, they all utilize the same type of resin construction, though it's worth noting that the newer models feature improved backlight technology and more responsive buttons. There are several versions available, but they all generally have the same functionality. A great choice for the more adventurous of you out there, the beefy SGW100 is one of the smartest non-smart watches that you're likely to find. While it's fairly massive at 48mm, it does pack in a bunch of useful features, including a compass accurate to ± 12 degrees and a thermometer. As you might expect, it performs particularly well in extreme conditions, boasting a 200-meter water resistance rating alongside a specified operating window of down to -10 degrees Celsius. While it lacks the shock-resistant technology found in other G-Shock watches, it's undoubtedly a beast of a watch that will likely serve you very well in the field. And it's also a fraction of the price. The display is also one of the best on the market, with large clear numbers and a bright screen to boot. This typically comes fitted with a resin strap, though some versions have fabric options instead. Next, we move on to some daily analog watches that could be ideal for those looking for a single watch to suit multiple occasions. Let's kick off with a great all-around set of watches that I covered a couple of months back on the channel, that being the Casio Edifice EFV 100 series. If you're after a single watch that you could wear for virtually anything, this is one of the best cheap options out there. You get a sporty overall appearance, somewhat resembling a budget Rolex Explorer, with a set of striking faceted indices and hands that give great legibility. Over the dial, this has a mineral crystal, but more impressively, houses a 100-meter water resistance rating and a screw-down crown. When paired with a fully stainless steel construction, this really doesn't look or feel like a sub £100 watch, yet remarkably, it is. It even features a half-decent steel bracelet, which was better than I expected considering I paid under £60 for the watch at the time. Therefore, this is a great pickup, and interestingly, it comes in 2 sizes and 3 colours. There's the smaller unisex 110D, which I have here, that comes in at just over 35mm, but you can also opt for the traditionally men's 100D, which sits at just over 40mm. My favourite colour is the black option with the yellow-tipped second hand, but there are more linked below. If you're willing to drop a bit more in the pursuit of accuracy, it might be worth looking at some of the radio-controlled Casios. Recently I reviewed the LCW M100 TSE from the Lineage lineup. Not only is this solar powered, ensuring no battery replacements, but the multiband technology ensures pinpoint accuracy at all times across multiple time zones using the wheel time function. This precision is also echoed in the alignment. The unit I tried had a perfect second-hand alignment with the least wobble and variance in any affordable watch I've tested before. Not only that, but this watch is incredibly lightweight and comfortable thanks to the full titanium construction and is a very crowd-pleasing size at a shade under 40mm. When paired with the sapphire crystal, the 5-bar water resistance and a beautiful dial, for under £200 this is possibly the best Casio I've come across. It's got a couple of downsides, but overall you can't complain for the money. Some of you may have heard of the Casio octagonal G-Shock, which you can modify to give a look that pays homage to the AP Royal Oak. Well, recently I showcased an alternative that gives a similar look in a much slimmer package. The EFR S108D comes in at just 8mm in thickness, paired with a sub 40mm diameter, making it much more wearable for thinner wrists. Despite being smaller, it still packs multiple punches, including full steel construction, sapphire crystal, and 100 meters of water resistance. The dial houses a surprising level of detail too, including a vertically grained texture, a raised chapter ring, and applied faceted indices that combine with the handset to give a surprisingly upmarket look. The case also features a well-finished mix of brushed and polished surfaces, which you wouldn't expect from a sub £200 watch. My only frustration is the solid lugs, which eliminate the possibility to fit third-party straps. If that sounds a bit on the small side for your wrist, it could be worth looking at the alternative EFR S107. This is a near identical watch to the previous one, but comes in with a 42mm diameter whilst maintaining the same slim profile. While the overall look is very comparable, this model features turquoise accents instead, alongside standard 20mm lugs, allowing you to swap the default option out for something of your choosing. You can grab this watch either on a bracelet or a leather strap, but like the previous edifice, it also houses the same sapphire crystal and solid 100-meter water resistance rating. While typically known for more casual pieces, Casio does have some great value dress watches that could more than do the job for formal occasions, should you not want to splash the cash on something expensive. A couple of years back, I sang the praises of the Casio Sapphire LTP. It was a great looking, fashionable watch that was almost a premium Daniel Wellington, but with sapphire crystal for far less money. Unfortunately, around a month after that video released, Casio pulled the plug on that model. Fortunately, my fiance noticed that they recently introduced an even better looking spiritual successor, the MTS 110. This is another classy budget quartz watch that looks akin to an Orient Bambino for about half the price. If you're looking at the likes of a Quartz Movement or Daniel Wellington, this gives you that minimalist look with better glass and water resistance, combined with a 10-year battery life, and a rather nice dial for far less money than either of the previous fashion watches. Availability seems to be limited due to COVID, but I anticipate we'll see a bit more of a wider release of these in the coming months. Referred to some as possibly the best £50 watch you can buy, the Casio MTS 100L is one of the best affordable dress watches that you can get for the price of a meal out. I featured this in a video in mid-2020 and complimented the subtle detailing of the chapter ring along with the great alignments and specifications. Sapphire crystal, 50 meters of water resistance, and another 10-year battery put this a step above most comparably priced dress watches. In this price bracket, a lot of the time you can just buy garbage, but not this one. It comes in 3 colors, blue, black and white. Each reminds me of the SNKL 20 series of automatic Seiko watches, though they do come in at a lower price point. The finishing isn't quite on the level of the Edifice range, however, at a glance it still looks like a much more expensive watch. While most of you watching this video won't have deep sea diving on your agenda, some of you may like the security of a high water resistance watch that you can swim in. That's where dive watches come in. Unfortunately, Casio's got some respectable models that perform well when submerged, for a really low price too. Arguably the best cheap dive watch around, the MDV 106 has a cult following. Sometimes known as the Duro, this is known to be one of the most durable watches for the price tag. In the US, these are often available for under $50, which really is an astonishing achievement considering the level of finishing and the 200-meter water resistance rating. They recently released a couple of color variants, including a blue option and the gold version I have in front of me. At 44mm, this is a beefy watch not for the slim-wristed. However, should the size suit your needs, you're getting a beast of a watch that will serve you well on land or at sea. Should that not be to your taste, or size for that matter, some alternatives will also give you that diver aesthetic, albeit with a slight reduction in aquatic performance down to 100 meters. One being the rather stylish and swooping EFV 130D. This one has a better level of finishing, a much better bezel, and a beautiful blue sunburst dial. I think this one's a great looking piece, it's just a shame my wrist isn't larger. It's a touch smaller than the Duro, but not by much. Should you require a submergible timepiece with better low light visibility, look no further than this one, the Casio Super Illuminator. While more clunky than the previous dive offerings at 13.8mm thick, it does house several unique features, such as the domed mineral crystal and the interesting skeletonized handset. This watch gets its nickname from the Super Illuminator LED backlight system, which shines from the top and bottom of the dial to provide a clear view of the time. This can be activated using the pusher located at the 2 o'clock position. Surprisingly, it also features traditional luminescence elsewhere, but it's not very bright or long-lasting, so no wonder they lobbed the light in. Most of the watches on this list are easily accessible from the likes of Amazon or a bunch of other retailers, but this next one isn't. The mythical B-Side BEM SL100D is one of the most popular Casio watches that nobody can seem to hunt down. Well, unless you want to pay $5 on AliExpress. I first learned of this one on the 24 Hours at a Time YouTube channel, and it immediately struck me. I couldn't help the feeling of lust. Unfortunately, it remains the only one on this list which I've yet to own at some point. Indeed, this one disappeared on the whispers of the wind about a year ago and has not returned to the market since, at least for normal prices. It's got such a striking look, featuring a circular brushed flat bezel and a beautiful marble look dial. With full steel construction and an array of attractive colorways, this is arguably the best looking Casio ever produced, resembling a sort of budget Patek Philippe / AP hybrid. Obviously, the finishing doesn't hold up versus true luxury watches, however, you seem to get a lot for your money if you can find one without paying a premium. If you can find one at retail price, you're getting a stunning and rather exclusive watch. For a quick dash of bling bling, it might be worth looking at the gold-coloured AQ230. This one combines a shrunk analog clock face with a mini digital display beneath, providing a cool and retro look for a very low price. This watch can be programmed to show 2 times at once, which could be a useful feature for those who travel to visit relatives regularly. Unlike some other Casios, it features drilled lugs, allowing you to easily switch the bracelet out for an alternative strap. There are several colorways available though. Be warned, as some of these are known to be fake. Unbelievably, faking cheap Casios is a thing, and this model in particular is renowned for it. As with other low-end watches, this one only has resin construction and acrylic over the dial, so it will mark and scratch heavily over time. However, it's an iconic look for the price of a couple of beers, so you can hardly complain. A watch that clearly takes shots at many fashion watches, the MTP E133L is a carbon copy of the likes of Movement, yet it's a fraction of the price. I've always said that basic, cheaply made watches should be inexpensive, and this watch proves my point. This is a simple quartz minimalist watch that isn't pretentious and is fairly priced. The downside here is the strap, which is bad quality. However, those fitted to most fashion watches are terrible anyway, so it's hardly a trade-off. For a fashionable, versatile look on a budget, this one is a clear favourite. Should that one not be available, you can always grab the similarly styled and identically spec'd MTP VT01G5B, thanks Casio, which is also linked below. Fancy a Rolex on your wrist but can't justify the price tag?
What the fuck?
Well, you can get a dash of that day-date aesthetic with the MTP 1370D. This crafty Casio bears more than a passing resemblance, with a near identical case shape and dial arrangement to the original, only this time with the date window occupying the 6 o'clock position. For even less money, you can grab an MTP 1302, which looks even closer to the Rolex Datejust, featuring the fluted bezel and a similar handset. The trade-off is plated brass construction, which isn't as premium or durable as stainless steel. Still, it's very well sized for average wrists at 38.5mm in diameter, and it has a surprisingly nice dial for a dirt cheap timepiece. Both of these are available in a variety of colours, though stock seems to be limited on all of them, I'm guessing because of the pandemic. Do you think I missed any Casios? What would you add to this list? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.